Tottenham won, Leicester City won in a game where Tottenham was so dominant. About 30 minutes into the game, I thought this could end 4-0 to Tottenham. Leicester haven't got a chance of staying up. But it was almost like it was a completely different side in the second half. Now, there was a lot of positives for Spurs to take, but there's also some negatives, some issues, some areas where they haven't quite improved from last season, some areas where I think they will improve. And I do think for the most part, there was a lot of positives for Tottenham. So I'm going to give you my thoughts as a neutral, a Man United fan, on Tottenham's game versus Leicester, which will feel like a loss because it's a newly promoted side and you did throw it away with the chances you missed and the domination you had at the beginning. But I will say this to all Tottenham fans, as Bellingham says, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Real Madrid lost their first game of the season yesterday. You lose your first game of the season today. I say lose, you drew, you both drew. But I can see why it feels like a loss both of those games because you'd expect to win. But look, as a Man United fan, I do know about losing the opening two games of the season. 2-1 to Brighton and 4-0 to Brentford. That was Man United's first two games of the season in Ten Hag's first season in 2022. We then ended up coming third and winning the Carabao Cup. So, you can have a poor start to the season. Do not write anything off because you drew your first game of the season, even though it's against Leicester. But there definitely was some areas for improvement. So let's talk about the game and everything we learned from the game. And to be honest, it was very Spursy. Dominate the game, be absolutely brilliant in the first half, deserves to be 2-3-0 up. And then the one chance that they get all match, they score from. And then one time you fall asleep, they score. In the first half, Leicester had 0.06 XG compared to Tottenham's 0.63. Tottenham had one chance created, 10 shots and 9 corner kicks, forcing the keeper into making 3 good saves. Tottenham absolutely dominated the first half. Solanke and Bentancur had chances where they were unlucky not to score. Tottenham were in control. They were very good. After they scored, they dropped off a bit as Leicester came at them more and maybe they struggled in the out-of-possession elements. But Leicester did nothing that first half. I sat there thought, Leicester 100% going down. I thought Tottenham were going to storm this game. They were going to win easily. I mean, Tottenham was so dominant in that first half. The football Tottenham played as well was brilliant. Tottenham played some brilliant stuff. James Maddison was unbelievable. He was pulling the strings. Tottenham played some really good football. Solanke looked really promising. I thought Solanke had a good debut despite not scoring, and maybe he should have scored that chance, but I think it's more difficult than people think. But I thought Solanke had a really promising debut. In my opinion, was let down a little bit by the wingers, which we'll talk about. But that first half from Tottenham was unbelievable. And you just come out in the second half and you drop off and you give Leicester an opportunity. I mean, this is shows how dominant Spurs were. Spurs dominated the whole game. Leicester scored. And then I think Leicester got a bit of confidence, had a good 10-minute spell. Tottenham weren't as good in the second half, but still controlled most of it. But the first half was just pure domination for Spurs. And it very Spursy for you not to win that, honestly. You could have been 2-0 up. And I do think the wingers let Ange down today. I thought Brennan Johnson was particularly poor. I think Son, for his standards, was poor, but I think with Son, there's a good player there. The interesting thing with Son is he's not a touchline winger. He's more of an inside forward. I think Son is better on the wing, but as an inside forward. And I think, when he's going touchline 1v1, he's not as good as when he's potentially a little bit more centrally and coming in behind and attacking. And I thought Brennan Johnson was poor. He didn't press very well. I thought his work rate and tracking back wasn't as good. His end product wasn't good. He wasn't beating his man 1v1. And I think with Brennan Johnson, he's a guy that when I've seen him come off the bench for Spurs, he's been quite good. He's had a few assists. He can get down the byline. And I see moments of Brennan Johnson where I think he's really good and really impressive for Spurs. And then I watch him again and he's not the best, to be honest. What Spurs need is, to be honest, the profile winger Spurs need is more of a Garnacho, someone that does not stop running. You're never going to get Garnacho. We're never going to sell you Garnacho, but someone that does not stop running, press, can play on either wing, and is just so good 1v1, beats his man all the time 1v1, gets down, progresses the ball, similar profile to Pedro Neto. And I think Tottenham obviously missing out on Pedro Neto, obviously never going to get Garnacho. There is question marks about Ange. Kulu's a good player, but he's probably better central in Ange's system. Son is not really a touchline winger. Brennan Johnson, Werner, there's question marks about Brennan Johnson, Werner's output. So I do actually think that Moore and Odobert may have a bigger role than some people anticipate this season for Tottenham if the wingers don't step up. Now, I think Son will be cemented left wing, top class player. But that right wing position is really up for grabs. And I think Odobert, however you're going to say his name, could get in a lot quicker than you think. Because Tottenham's wingers were not beating the man 1v1 today and the final ball delivery was poor. Werner and Johnson, not good enough, haven't done enough. Richarlison as well, but he's not really a winger. He's played central. They've not been good enough for Tottenham. They haven't done enough. There's potential there. There's squad players there. But there's definitely a chance for an Odobert and Moore to come through. It's like Garnacho when he was 17. Look at Anthony. Look at Sancho. Anthony and Sancho did nothing on the wing for United, and then Garnacho's took their place. Amad Diallo's even took their place. You know, I always reference United being a United fan. You know, Moore, I know he's very young, but he looked very good in pre-season. Odobert's got a lot of Premier League experience. They could take that place. They really could. The young, the hunger, because those are two players that you know are very good 1v1 at beating their man and progressing play. I thought Son was having an off day. I thought Kula was unlucky not to start, but I can understand why he was dropped because he looks better centrally in Ange's system. He's not really a winger that suits Ange's system. And, you know, beginning of the season, Maddison, he was probably Tottenham's best player in the first half. Solanke's the new signing. Maybe Tottenham need to look at a game to almost get Kulu and Maddison playing as 2-8s, but then you don't have the 6 to do that. I'm not sure. But I thought Moore and Odobert, because they're so good 1v1, and Werner and Johnson, you know, not looked at it. I think that right wing, and I know Moore's predominantly played on the left wing, is really up for grabs. Because if you look at Wilson Odobert, and I did this in my video the other day, most successful dribbles by teenagers. You know, he's just behind Desiree Doué. You know, very good dribble off the ball, which is why Ange wanted him. And when I did my review on Odobert, he's a two-way direct winger that is most known for taking on players 1v1. He's in like the 97th and 98th percentile for ball progressions taken on players 1v1. You know, he's known to be a dribbler, a ball progressor with rapid pace, and that is the exact profile that Tottenham need. And I think that Tottenham's transfer business, they definitely need another midfield profile in there. I think the backline is fine. It's just about depth. They definitely need another midfield profile in there that specialises off the ball in covering ground. But I do think Solanke is the profile that fits Ange's system and Odobert's the profile that fits Ange's system. It's just the question of will they step up and be good enough for Tottenham? You know, with Odobert, he's very good 1v1, very naturally gifted player. And potential, if he reaches his potential and Ange can develop him into a top player and he gets the output, he could be a very good sign for Tottenham. And then Mikey Moore is just generational for his age, to be honest. But let's talk about Maddison. First half of the season, Maddison is definitely something crazy. But he was back to his best in the first half, tired a bit in the second half, but I thought everything was going through Maddison. I thought he was pulling the strings. I think Tottenham was so good on the ball. They were breaking down Leicester's low block. They were causing Leicester so many issues. Second half, he obviously tired out and Spurs sort of dropped off, but you could see Maddison's passing range. He was everywhere, getting between the lines, playing the ball, putting in a lovely ball to Porro. You know, Maddison was phenomenal in that first half. He was everywhere. He looked back to his best. And I think, you know, if Maddison stays at his best, you know, that is really important for Tottenham. I think Solanke will be a good player for Tottenham. Son is a good player. I think that Moore or Odobert could break through. And I think the question marks has always been around Tottenham's attack because even though you can see goals, it comes more through midfield structure than individuals in defence. It's probably about getting that 6 and that balance in midfield potentially for Tottenham. And I think, you know, Kulu probably would be best as a 10 in Ange's system. And, you know, if Maddison drops off, you've got Kulu there. But is there maybe a way they could both work together? But I think Maddison's passing range and creativity was fantastic for Tottenham. And another area that I thought really worked really well was overloading on the wings with the underlaps and the overlaps. And I thought that Pedro Porro defensively could have done better maybe, but going forward I thought he had a really good game. And Fantasy tweeted this: in addition to his goal, Pedro Porro created a match high 4 chances, the most of any defender in game week 1. His next opponents, Everton, failed to score or create a big chance in the first match. Now Everton looked to the worst team in game week 1, have to see how they do against Tottenham, but Pedro Porro going forward, he makes so much happen. He's one of the best fullbacks in the world going forward. It's just sometimes I think defensively and positionally he could improve, but I think, you know, he gets a lot of stick online from certain Spurs fans, which I don't understand. I think he's a very, very solid right back, and I thought his overlaps and underlaps and his movements and contributions in the final third is really helped Tottenham, especially because I think their wingers weren't at their best today. Number 5. I thought Tottenham struggled out of possession in midfield. I think in possession they were better, but they definitely need someone with maybe that leadership and confidence to dictate the play and get on the ball. But I think they struggle out of possession in midfield. Now, Joe Gomez is a very good ground cover and decent out of possession. There's definitely profiles that stick out more to me, but I do think Joe Gomez would be a very good signing for Tottenham. He's obviously the guy you've been most linked to, but I do think out of possession, you have I think particularly because Ange has such a high transitional approach, you need someone that could eat and cover up ground. That's why I think Amadou Onana, who's just gone to Aston Villa, could have been a really good signing for Tottenham Hotspur. I think Archie Gray can do elements of that, but he's so young and raw that to throw him into that, it's a very difficult job to do. But if you get like a monster out of possession, he's really good at covering ground, that is a very good dual winner, as someone that can play as a 6 and an 8, but potentially more of a 6 role, I think that Tottenham could really, you know, really improve Tottenham. I think you've got really good players in midfield, but Sarr's a good player. I think Bentoncourt's a good player, but they've both been inconsistent. Maddison's an unbelievable player. Kulu can play. He's a good player. Bergvall, I thought Bergvall had a good game. I know he almost gave away a goal right at the end there, but I actually thought Bergvall looked quite good. I believe Archie Gray's a good player, but you need someone that's going to give you the balance, because you can have all these good individuals, but look at Chelsea, they have all these good individuals, but if they don't build a team and balance it to, build a team that works together, it will struggle. And I think the midfield at Tottenham lacks balance because you lack someone that really can do that job out of possession. Because I think when it comes to defending transitions, Tottenham are always vulnerable. And I don't think that's due to the defence. I think you've got a very solid back line. I don't think Romero had his best game today. Could have done better for the goal, but everyone knows that Romero is an absolutely unbelievable defender. But you do struggle to defend transitions because your midfield gets played through. And then I want to talk about Solanke, because people online will make out that Solanke was bad because he missed a chance. But look, that happens. As someone that's a massive fan of Rasmus Højlund, I always stuck up for Rasmus Højlund when he got stick online, because as someone that watched Man United play, I saw this 20-year-old striker in Højlund that got 16 goals for a Man United side with no service, no help whatsoever, that, made goals himself, really, really promising signs. And I think that in the world of football these days, you don't score a goal, you're crap if you're a striker. But no, I thought that Solanke had a very good game. I thought they fitted into the system well. I thought his movement was good. I thought he showed an understanding with teammates. Of course, he's never played with them before, but it wasn't that obvious. I thought he slotted in quite well. I thought he was going to get a goal in the second half, but the chances just dried up for him. He pressed well. He got into the right areas. I think he's going to be a good signing for Tottenham, Solanke. You saw Richarlison come on. Solanke looks levels ahead of Richarlison, doesn't he? I think that he got into good areas. He just got let down by his wingers a little bit. Probably should have scored a goal, but it was more difficult than I think people think. I just think he went a bit too much for power. I think if he gets more chances, he will score. I thought his movement was good. I thought that he didn't have enough creative for him in the second half, but he was pressing well. I thought his hold-up play was really good. He was linking well. I think that he had a good debut. It just lacked the goal. And as a striker, for it to be a good game, you need the goal. But I think there was promising signs from Dominic Solanke, in my honest opinion. Let me know your thoughts down below, Tottenham fans. There were some negatives. There were some positives. I think you should probably go and get a midfielder before the end of the window. I think there's just a bit of a lack of balance in there, particularly out of possession. But I do think that you'll still have a good season. I've predicted you 5th, I think, or 4th, depending on your signings. And yeah, let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching. Bye.